Now, I am going to reveal to you guys the secret of becoming an Amazon #1 bestseller. Are you excited? Now, what's crazy is that it's actually not that hard to become an Amazon #1 bestseller, and a lot of people are actually able to say that without selling a lot of books. Okay, you don't actually have to sell that many books to be a #1 bestseller, and this is why. And I'm also going to explain to you why being a bestseller does not mean that you are making a lot of money on Amazon. It does not mean that at all. And let me show you why, okay? Publisher Rocket has something called a category search, and this is really valuable, okay? If I come over to my Amazon and I'm just under bestsellers, so if you come onto Amazon, there's this little tab here called bestsellers. You click on it, then come down here to books. There's also an option for Kindle store. There's separate categories. That's important to know. Books is what we're going to click on and what we're going to look at. You can do the exact same thing for the Kindle store as well, but we're looking at books. Okay, this is physical books that are printed and sent to your front door. Now, these are all categories, and if I click on one of these categories, then it'll break down into even more categories, as you can see. And that's exactly what Publisher Rocket has done, is it has collected information on all these categories and how many books you need to sell to be #1 in that category. So this book here is #1 in the category children's books. Okay, if I click on action and adventure, The Tale of Peter Rabbit is the #1 bestseller. Okay, so as you're probably starting to see now, the only thing that we need to do to become an Amazon #1 bestseller and to have this nice little badge right here is to pick a low competition category and sell the most books in that category. It's actually pretty easy. Now, when you publish a book through Amazon KDP, you're only allowed to select 2 of those categories. However, you can do this category research and find categories that are low competition and that relate to your book. And then you can actually send an email to Amazon, and I'll show you how to do this. You send them an email and tell them what categories you want to be placed in. If you don't do that, they'll actually automatically place you in other categories beyond the 2 that you selected based on people who are buying your book and trends and all that good stuff, okay? As you can see here, this book is ranking for 3 different categories, not just 2, but 3 different categories. They're #1 in children's action and adventure books. And they're probably ranking for a lot of other categories, but these are the top ones that they're ranking for. So let's go back over to Publisher Rocket and click on category search. Now, I'm going to click on book. That is important, okay? We don't want to just be searching for all of them. It's going to get a little confusing. And if I were to pick one like health, fitness, and dieting, this is kind of a high competition one. It's going to be a little bit hard for us to find a low competition category, but let me show you what it looks like. Now, this is a category: books, health, fitness, and dieting, addiction recovery. This whole thing is the category, okay? And it gets more specific as we go down the line, right? This was us going into categories and subcategories like we just saw on the bestseller page of Amazon. And then there's these different ways that we can filter these, that we can organize them. This is the average BSR of #1. So if I sort for that, then having a high BSR, that means it's going to be lower competition, because books about health, fitness, and dieting, children's health and lice, they are not selling as well as disease and physical ailments. The ABSR, the average BSR of #1 is 1. That's a really, really good BSR. That's like the best selling ever, sort of. So we want to pick a category that's got a higher BSR, because it means it's going to be easier to compete. Now, the other thing here is sales to #1. When I sorted that, it stayed the same. So if you write a book about lice, then you only have to sell 2 books per day to rank #1 in this category, which still isn't ideal. That is kind of hard, especially if there aren't a lot of people looking for books on lice. I mean, I'm not looking for a book on lice, but who knows? Like, maybe there are people looking for books on lice. This isn't a horrible BSR. Anything under 150,000 is actually pretty good. So it's very possible that you could compete in this category. And all you would have to do to tell everybody that you are an Amazon #1 bestseller is to sell more than 2 books a day. Or I guess sell 2 books a day. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now here, this is also useful information, but it's not going to help you become a number one bestseller. It just means that you're going to be in the top 10 for that category, which could mean more visibility on your book. But again, if people aren't buying books about lice, then it doesn't really matter either way. That's where we did all of our detailed keyword research. It's really important, right? We need to know how many people are actually searching for lice, books on lice. So let's go back to our category search. We're still under books. Let's check out business and money. This is probably going to be another high competition one because people want to learn how to earn money, right? But let's see if we can find a book. Yeah, see, look, this one's really high competition. The lowest book has an ABSR. Well, the lowest ABSR, the worst one is 28,000. That's a really good BSR. Okay, that's going to be really hard to compete in. And as you can see, you have to sell at least 8 books a day to be competing, to be competitive in this category. That's a lot of books, especially for a beginner. And yeah, if you can do that, if you can become a number one bestseller in museums, in books, business and money industries and museums, then yeah, you can make a lot of money. Now I can come over here and say, check it out and actually see which books are ranking for that category. We'll let it load. Oh, it didn't work. Interesting. Let's try this one here. Okay, my internet's not working, but you get the point that if you click on that, it's going to let you actually see the books that are ranking for that category. Let's go back and see if we can find another one that's really low competition. So maybe engineering and transportation. I don't know a lot about that. Sales to number one. Here we go. So if you've got one that's books, engineering and transportation, engineering reference, American National Standards Institute publications, then you only have to sell 1 book per day to be an Amazon number one bestseller. So see how easy that is? Like, it's really not that hard to be a bestseller. It's really not. And probably what I would do, if I really, really wanted to be an Amazon number one bestseller, is I would pick one of these categories, I'd have somebody else write the book for me, and I'd pump a whole bunch of Facebook and Amazon ads into it until I was selling 1 book a day, and then I could get that nice little badge, and I could keep it for as long as I wanted because I could just keep running ads to it, right? But does that mean that I'm making money off of being an Amazon number one bestseller? Absolutely not, because I'm spending tons of money on ads. And would I enjoy doing that? Is that fulfilling for me? Absolutely not. So this is the point that I want to make, is being an Amazon number one bestseller does not necessarily mean that you are successful. It does not necessarily mean that you've got it made, okay? The book that you are enjoying writing, the book that you want to write as an author, I think that's really important because you want your job to be fulfilling. You know, if you didn't care about having a fulfilling job, then you'd probably go get a regular 9-to-5, which you probably have anyways. But you see what I'm saying? Like, book writing for me is very relaxing, and it's a hobby, and it's something that I enjoy learning about, and I love growing and getting better at writing. And it's not all about just being a number one bestseller. Now, of course, if your books catch on, and I hope they do, and I hope they will, then more sales means that you could very naturally and organically become a number one bestseller in your category. That could very well happen. But trying to go for that and stressing over that initially, it's really not that big of a deal. It's really not. Unless you really, really want to tell people you're an Amazon number one bestseller, then just come find one of these low competition categories and you're on your way.